Like you lead with, it's a sponsored video, these are the guys, and this is what we're going to do. But you come up with some really creative solutions around that. Are those profitable? Are they worthwhile? Do you like doing them? Because I think they're hilarious.
So yeah, if you've sort of been talking in the communities panel a few minutes ago, we really enjoy doing brand partnerships, mainly because they allow us to do things that we could never do without their help. And partnerships like the Tesco one, if you saw the chocolate tour that we did around Ireland a couple of years ago. So working with brands enables us, like, brands have access to so much things, whether it's money that helps you get to places and do things, whether it's access to people who have got incredible stories that they want to tell, or whether it's access to locations, all of those kinds of things. And actually that Ireland chocolate tour was a really good example of that. They managed to get us to Ireland, managed to get us to meet loads of artisan producers, and open doors for us that we couldn't have done by ourselves. But for us, they're the ones that we really love doing, is where we get to get out of the kitchen, out of the studio, and go and explore something. And usually, because they're quite expensive things to do, it's brands that can help us do those. There is, if anyone's seen the launch video a couple of weeks ago for Android Pay that we're working on, project with them. First video launches tomorrow, and honestly, it was an incredible experience. I'm going to do it. So we basically, like, spoiler. I know, out of the two, like, there were like 2,000 comments in 24 hours of people suggesting different events that they wanted us to turn up to and their celebrations. And somebody just commented saying, "Hey, I'm getting married in a couple of weeks in London." And so we got in touch, and it turns out it was an Indian wedding, 250 guests. And they set us a really cool challenge with about 30 hours to go before the wedding. And I won't tell you any more about it because it goes live 10 o'clock UK time tomorrow morning. And you should go and watch it. But it was such a really great experience, and it's something that we would never have done without that kind of impetus that came from Android Pay to say, go and do that. The Ford Mustang unlearn food on the go thing that we did a couple of months ago was incredibly good fun.
You ruined the car!
It was a pickup truck, and it was all hosable down. But we did ruin our camera guy.
He was so he did all that turning, like sat in the front of like looking through the lens of the camera. Oh, he turned green very quickly.
But it's those things, and where we can get our community involved in doing those and helping us do those things is just fantastic. And I think we're really lucky, you know, we put a lot of work into those, and we're really lucky we never see any negative sort of reaction to those sorts of things. And I think it's because we put so much work into making sure it's completely transparent, and it is bigger and better than you'd expect from Sorted on a normal day-to-day basis. I think. Confidence.
So we haven't heard from him for a while, so how's Tyrone?
You know how some things just stick?
Yeah.
For those that...
Or is he here?
He's upstairs. So I've got nothing to say. This is crazy. How have I ended up with a mythical son? 5 or 6 years old.
I think he's 7 now.
I lose track. Parenting. Yeah, I mean, again, one of those things that just happens in Mike's head, up until the point we pick up a camera, and he thought one day that would be funny to do it to VidCon. And because Mike also has edit control over what remains in the video when it gets aired, yeah, Mike has the power. He's fine.
Thank you for answering the question.
Hi.
Hey.
Hello.
So, I'll put my cup down to talk. I started out, cooking has always been kind of a passion of mine, but I more started out at my school doing a lot of entertainment, kind of MCing for a lot of different kind of things. And I think I like Sorted so much because you guys, I feel like out of a lot of the cooking channels on YouTube, you guys kind of have the most performance aspect of it. I guess my question would be, did any of you guys start out in other performing sections of anything?
Because the story's here. Great question.
First of all, thank you. I don't know which story you're necessarily talking about, but I think, so performance is one thing potentially, but I did a lot of amateur dramatic stuff as I was growing up. I was Willy Wonka. I was the Artful Dodger. and all that kind of thing. And I think
Mike did Widow Twanky once in a pantomime back at school.
But what I think is bigger than that kind of side of things is more the fact that it's just us talking to our friends. And if you imagine how you are, whether it's in a bar or in a pub or just wherever it is, and you're chatting with your mates and how funny things can get, it's just as somebody's filming that and putting it on the internet, and then other people join in around it. And I think that actually, regardless, you never did any kind of publicly speaking type stuff or had any performance elements or outward speaking things before what we did Sorted is. But and Barry's just the most socially awkward person you could ever. I hope to not me. But yeah, so I think it's that fact that we're not presenting to a camera, we're just talking to our mates, and actually the camera becomes the fifth friend that's there. And so I think it's probably that aspect as much as anything else that makes it a bit different.
Which is why there are so many sort of in-jokes, and you guys know that. I mean, I feel sorry sometimes for people who tune into a fridge cam who have no idea what they're about to watch, and there's all these weird stuff going on with Tyrone and Red Shorts and Super Geek and the whole shebang. But that's kind of, as with any friendship group, these are the things that you'll always reminisce back to. Do you remember when, back in the pub we were joking about that, and it always comes back up again? So that's
the really funny ones are when real in-jokes from our friendship group make it into videos, and everybody else within the friendship group sees it as how did you put that in a video? And it doesn't mean anything to anybody else, but there's been a few, mainly aimed at Ben still.
Still my expense.
Gabriella. But it's those kind of things that the 20 or so of our mates will get, and it kind of might just slip by other people. That's because it is that friendship element, and hopefully that hasn't changed over the last few years.
Yeah.
Never will.
So I have two things. First, can you sign my badge?
Yes.
And second, I was wondering if you still have red shorts.
I do.
Why are you wearing them?
It is the same pair. I wear them quite frequently. I don't know why it's become such a thing. This is so ridiculous that even when I went to Japan at the start of the year, I packed them for one photo. I knew at some point in the 2 weeks I would take a photo. And how sad is that? But yes, they still exist. Okay, fantastic. Anyway?
But like Ben said, he's just helpless when it comes to those things, because as soon as Mike grabs onto something, it's like you're done. You've got no control there at all.
Well, also, once you guys have gifted, there's no escape. A bit like quiche. I like quiche, but it's become so much bigger thing than it actually is.
Do you know what? I don't want to admit something really bad, but I really like quiche. I'd never admit that in public. But,
Well, there's a couple of cameras, so I think that has now been captured.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm not a cook at all, but I do try and experiment. And I tried to make a pesto sauce, and I don't like it every time it comes out. So have you ever made a recipe that you just don't like, and you keep experimenting, and it just never comes out right?
I have a really quite unusual palate in the sense I actually quite like everything, and I think that's quite unusual. There are, between the four of us, there's things that between us we don't like, and we know there'll be certain favourites. If there's a certain recipe, certain people are either favoured or smoked salmon you can't stand. So there are certain ingredients between the four of us we don't like, but I think I'm quite fortunate since I kind of like everything, and I'll always give it a go. And any dishes that haven't quite worked out, not normal. I know when we're testing stuff, sometimes you'll find it's super hot, we want to add a bit more chilli, and there's places like that where we have differences, and we go, oh, actually, half the team really like it like this, and half the team would prefer it if it was more like that. So we have a workaround around that, but I don't think there's really, I think you use this answer, but I don't think it's really...
I think moving it on from a sorted point of view, from a personal point of view, so after we went to Austin last year, I felt like I needed to fall in love with more beef, but I fell in love with the brisket there and kind of the whole smoking and barbecue culture. And a couple of months ago, I bought a smoker and started to do some stuff at home. And that experimenting kind of phase of going, right, I've got some ribs or I've got some brisket and I'm going to do it this way this time, I'll give that a go. And I go, do you know what? It wasn't bad. I was really impressed that like they were both edible the first time I made them. I was so impressed. And you go, okay, how can I make that better next time? And I think probably the thing that I'm really bad at is remembering what I did the first time, so that I can have like a control that I can then change next time. I'll just go and do something completely different. But I think from a personal point of view, that experimentation is really important because it allows you to hone down to what you do really like, and no chili con carne I ever make is exactly the same. I will make that once a month and it's completely different each time because I'll try lots of different things and I still don't think I found the perfect formula for me yet. Even though other people may say they like it or don't like it, it's like, that's a personal thing.
Why don't you write it down?
Effort.
How big a crew do you take with you on the road, and do you, are you kind of editing as you go, or do you wait till you get back?
Nice question.
Nice question. A really, so again, caveat at the start, a really mixed bag. But sometimes we'll do, like when we shoot recipe stuff, we always aim for like a couple of cameras to make sure that we're capturing all kind of the wine and the close-up, the food action. But an example of, or a great example was last year on Lost and Hungry, when we did the tour across America. That was a very skeleton team. It was the 4 of us, plus Lou, plus James for some of it. So sometimes just 6, and Mike was shooting stuff on the road as we were going. He was then editing on the road, like evenings, sat there in bed with his parents, just editing this video, so that we could get it off to the Today Show to air, sort of like in a couple of mornings' time. So that was a real skeleton team, and we're doing it in real time. But at the same time, we were shooting stuff during the day that we just saved, backed up, and when we got back to the UK, we could start concentrating on editing that down, and that series came out later. So you kind of have things running in parallel. You've got the real-time content on Twitter and Snapchat and instant kind of interaction, and especially for Lost and Hungry, where you guys were actually leading the way, that's instant. And then there's quick turnaround, things like Fridge Cam that was very topical, almost from week to week, plus the stuff for the Today Show. And then we get back and kind of digest all the other stuff, the recipes, the long form, and that went out as well. So a bit of everything.
Yeah, I mean the general aim for us is as small as possible, and we've got so we bring in freelance camera operators when we need to, but they're always the same people. It's always Raph, or it's always Torrin, or it's always Chris. Like they're the only 3 people that we use, and I think that helps add to the fact of with the person behind the camera is also a really good friend. We've known them for years. And
we put poor Raph through so much.
When you see the camera shaking, it's because he's laughing. And so we'll try and do as small as possible. And when we've done some things, like we did a couple of TV adverts a few years ago, and we did something, a big campaign in the UK with YouTube. And you turn up and there's 50 people there. And you're like, what are you all doing? Like, and you've got like 3 sound guys, and then you've got the people looking like, and it's for us it feels completely unnecessary. And we might not be able to reach the same quality as something like that, but do you know what? It's only 10% off it, and we'll be able to do it with 6 of us rather than 50. So yeah, we aim for as small as possible to kind of keep it that intimate, what we have kind of style.